How's it going, guys? We are here with the first ever episode of Crimson Coverage. Got a special guest here for you guys. 2027 four-star offensive lineman Jackson Roper out of Greenwood Village, Colorado, Cherry Creek High School. Jackson recently got an offer from Alabama after a camp, and he's a guy that's very talented out there on the West Coast. So excited to have you on here, Jackson. Let's see, we can't. Okay. Sorry about that. Had you muted, brother. Hold on. All right, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Brody.
Yeah. So first off, we're going to talk about your recruitment. It's really picked up over the course of the summer. You've made several visits to several places and earned an offer from Alabama. So, first and foremost, what does that offer from Alabama kind of like mean to you? What stands out to Alabama about you? And what made you, Jackson, what made you want to go from Colorado to Tuscaloosa to camp?
So it's funny you say that. I actually went from Colorado to Ole Miss the day before and had camp, and then went from Ole Miss. We drove to Alabama, got in pretty late, like 12 o'clock at night, and then woke up the next morning for camp. Both of them went really well. It was really exciting. But for me, Alabama has always, since I was young, been a school that has been on my eye. They've always been great and an opportunity that I've always wanted. So for me, being this year of the recruitment and camp season, it was really important to me to get out to Alabama, and it worked on the schedule. And for me, the main thing is not the distance traveled, it's going to the right schools. And for me, Alabama was one of the right schools that I wanted to be at. So, and it went really well. It was great.
No, 100%, man. If you don't mind me asking, do you have a plan for what you would want to study in college? Like, does Alabama have your program or type of study?
So I've always been really good at math and science. I've always loved those. I haven't really decided too much about what I want to study right now. It's really more the football that I'm focused on. But yeah, no, for me, I've always loved math and science, and that's something that I would love to do.
Yeah, no, man, 100%. I totally get that. Like I told you previously, you got some time to make a decision and, keep the main thing right now. And that's, playing football and focusing on your, academics while you're in high school as a junior. So,
Yes,
I watched your film and, I quickly noticed, especially with your size, you could play, multiple positions, whether it be guard or tackle. I wanted to ask you, is Alabama recruiting you to play a specific position? And also, do you have a preferred position that you would want to play at the college level?
Yes, sir, brother. That's a great question. So at my high school, at my size, I've played guard and tackle. I've played both. And I've done a great job at both. I love playing both. But one of the things that I pride myself on is being a plug-and-play player for any college and being able to play all five positions. My size fits that, and I'm able to play all five positions. I work on all five. For some of these schools, they've recruited me more as an interior offensive lineman. As you can see from the clips, I took a lot of my reps at guard and center at Alabama. But I want to get on the field early. And for me, that's being able to play. I want to be athletic enough to play tackle, but I want to be physical enough to play guard. So I pride myself on being able to be a plug-and-play player at any of the five positions on the offensive line and get on the field early and make an impact.
I think that's a great answer, Jackson. And, I will honestly say that Alabama's had several players in the past, that they recruited to play tackle that have been bumped inside to guard. And, one of those in particular is fifth-year senior Jaden Roberts. Actually started out, got recruited, out of North Shore, Texas, as a tackle and made that transition to guard. And he's been, like you said, like you want to be too, or aspire to be a plug-and-play type of guy. And, Alabama's had several of those people, and Coach Cap's one of those guys that, he likes to do that as well. He likes to have guys play multiple positions. So, let me just ask you about Coach Cap. What was it like to meet him, be able to interact with him and, what was his kind of message to you in terms of like how he wants to recruit you and some areas that he wants to see you grow or things like that?
Yes, sir. So I love my time at Alabama's camp, meeting Coach Cap and being able to perform against some high-level guys and some good competition at camp. It went really well. And for me, the message from me and Coach Cap is he actually knows my trainer I work with is Matt McChesney over at 6-0, and he's really helped me prepare for this camp season. And just to continue to work with him, work with the coaches at Creek, and continue to grow and always want to grow into a better. Don't be stagnant and always be learning on how to be a better offensive lineman at the next level and what it takes. I mean, watching film at a higher level, that's the technique, the small things that can really separate yourself to play at a place like Alabama. So just continue to do that and work over the next 2 years so I'm ready to be in an environment like Alabama.
No, 100%. And that's a great answer right there. I know that Coach Cap personally actually went to one of my friend's camps, and, he gets after it. And I'm not sure if I don't know the specific nickname, but he has a nickname for the offensive line.
Coach Juice Squad?
Yeah, Juice Squad. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And, he's a guy that likes to get after it. I think this is his second year with Alabama. I think he came in with Coach DeBoer, but a great guy. And, obviously, you had the opportunity to, meet and interact with him. And we'll see what happens, man. You might end up in Tuscaloosa. We'll just have to wait and see. Still got some time. Okay. But, I wanted to take this time, guys, to, promote Crimson Coverage. Just recently started my business. You guys can follow me on TikTok, X, YouTube, and Facebook. All the handles are there. So be sure to do that. And, like it says down below me, the little scrolling, banner, be sure to like and subscribe and comment. If you have any questions, at the end, we'll look at them and we'll try to get Jackson to answer some of those if you have any. But we appreciate you tuning in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and move to our next topic. And that is, let's see. I'm still getting used to this, guys. Still getting used to this. All right. Okay. That's a little better. We'll work with that. So you had the opportunity, to visit Alabama. Did you have an opportunity to speak with any of the players? Like, did they have a message for you, or were you able to see any of them? What was the camp like? Was it like more difficult than others? Like, was there more hands-on, interaction with the coaching staff? Like, how was the camp set up, and like, how did you perform, you think, in your opinion?
Yes, sir. So the camp, one of the biggest differences is you'll go to these different camps. This one, we had helmets on. So already it's a little more physical, gets a little more hotter, especially in Alabama weather. It's a little hotter. But no, camp went really well. There was a lot of the players helping at the camp. All the coaching staff was there. It was really cool. We got there, took some measurements, some basic measurements, height, weight, wingspan, different things that they want to see. Did some of the, 40 time or a broad jump, especially at offensive line. They want to see your mobility on how you squat, how you move in a stance. So did some of those basic things and then warmed up. And I'll tell you, this is definitely one of the harder camps I was at, especially coming right from Ole Miss the night before. This was a hard camp, but it went really well. It was hot, but then we did some drill work. We had like stations that we basically went, and the first 4 were like mobility and movement kind of stations, just seeing how you move. Again, the players and coaches were great helping us out. They had water, tents and stuff. Everything went really well. And then after that, we got into some drill work, specifically for offensive linemen. We split up as a group. It was a full camp for all positions. But after the mobility things, we switched over and went to offensive line group and did some specific drills. And then the favorite part, which you guys can see, is the one-on-ones. That's my favorite part of all these camps. And just to compete, like helmets on, it gets physical, and there's really no plays off at offensive line. Guy will beat you with one move. You always got to be ready. So, and, for me, I'm trying to get as much exposure as I can. So I'm going every other rep. I'm taking reps from guys, because I want to be in front of these coaches, and this is my opportunity to shine. So, but it was hard, but it went really well. It was a really good camp. I felt like I performed really well, and that shows with the offer that I got and the trust from Coach Cap that I'm going to be able to develop as a player. The biggest things that I see these schools almost betting on with these offers is how I'm going to progress. And I pride myself on, I'm going to hustle to every drill. I'm going to go 110% on every drill. I'm not taking plays off because that shows the coach what you're like as a player. You're not, how can they trust you when you're taking reps off here when you get to the college and the workouts are 10 times harder? How are they going to trust you to become the player? So that's my goal. And I felt like it went really well. And all the coaching staff and the players were great. And it went really well.
It sounds like you have a great mindset, man. And one thing that stood out to me in your response right there was, the fact that you said you want to get as many reps as possible because, at a lot of these camps, a lot of kids won't get the opportunity, but for you to get so many opportunities, it just shows that you stood out to Coach Cap. You stood out to these guys that were actually, coaching and being mentors in the specific, part of the camp, one-on-ones. But that's something that definitely stood out to me. And like you said, a lot of these schools, they look at guys that they could see developing and guys that, are taking the right steps and, as far as their growth and stuff. And you certainly seem to be one of those guys. And man, you already fit the mold of an Alabama offensive lineman at 6'5", 292. So, it's interesting to watch this film right here in particular because, you're basically dominating these guys. Like they're not getting by you. So it's definitely interesting to see. But, going into your junior season, you're at Cherry Creek High School. What are some of your personal goals as well as goals that you might want to have or that the team has, for this upcoming season?
So as an offensive lineman, we're basically a statless position group. So for me, a lot of my goals align with our team goals as a unit, as an offensive line. I want to be a leader on the team. That's a goal for me personally is I want to be a leader. I want to lead my guys in a battle. But as a team, we want to protect our quarterback. Brady Vidicka, who's a senior at Cherry Creek, we want to protect him. We want him untouched to be able to make plays. Our goal is to have our playmakers be in the best positions possible and the least amount affected by the defensive line, right? And anybody who wants to come near our quarterback. Also, our running back, we want him to be able to get 5 or 6 yards past the line of scrimmage untouched to be able to use his ability as a playmaker downfield and be able to break off big plays. So for us, I think we want to be connected. We always want to have the same mindset going into a game is, we're better than these guys and we're going to come out and we're going to prove it and, be hard, physical at the point of contact, but we want to make our guys shine. We want our skill positions to look good and get the attention. And that's our goal. It's just win games as an offensive line and me too, as a leader on the team. That's what I want.
That's definitely, a good response and, that's a great mindset to have, be able to, protect your quarterback and, obviously create lanes for your tailback as well. I wanted to also ask you, do you plan on taking an unofficial visit to Alabama this fall, or do you have any maybe date or game in particular that you would like to, visit Tuscaloosa this upcoming season?
Yes, sir. So I will be taking an unofficial visit to Alabama. I've been talking to Coach Cap, and we are booked to go to the LSU versus Alabama game. That is the game that I think I'm going to be going to, and we have the plane set and everything's ready to go, and I'm really excited. It's going to be a great opportunity and just learn more about Alabama football.
No, man, you definitely chose the right game, and being able to come in for that game, it's definitely going to be a good one. So you're going to see a good game. And then,
Yes,
like you said, being able to, develop those relationships and create even more connections, being able to see the game day atmosphere, be on the field, interact with some of the players and other coaches as well. So, that's definitely an opportunity, it's a good one to have, and
right. It's a great opportunity, and I'm really excited. It's going to be a great time.
For sure, man. And you guys heard it here first. He is planning to attend the Alabama LSU game, an unofficial visit this year. Jackson Roper, 2027 4-star offensive lineman out of Cherry Creek High School in Greenwood Village, Colorado. Got several more things for you. Obviously, you haven't even started your junior season technically, and you have offers from schools across the country. What has it been like for you to be able to see your recruitment pick up? And, how have you viewed the process, now that your recruitment's kind of picking up? Like, do you have any schools that are standing out, or do you plan on taking visits or trips anywhere else?
Honestly, it's been crazy. The amount of attention that I've gotten over the summer from my ability to perform at these camps and relationships that I've built. But I mean, the recruitment process has been crazy. Having 4 SEC offers going into my junior year, I would have never expected. To be recently ranked on the ESPN Junior 300 and be ranked the 6th best interior offensive lineman in the country is a huge step in my recruitment process. And I'm talking to coaches every single day and just building relationships. And that's the biggest thing for me, is finding where this best place is going to be for me. But it's picked up really fast. It's been crazy. But, I'm really excited for the opportunity to be where I'm at and have choices. That's one of the biggest things, is I have the ability to choose and what's going to be the best fit for me. And I'm excited for the process and for it to continue and eventually make the choice.
Absolutely, man. You noted, 4 SEC schools offering you, and those are 4 of the, 4 premier schools. Who are the schools that have offered you in the SEC thus far?
So it went OU. We went to OU originally, and then went to Texas A&M, and then Ole Miss and Alabama.
Yeah, man, those are definitely 4 of your more premier schools, in the SEC, and you don't see, it just goes to show the type of player you are, the type of mindset you have, for 4 of your first offers to be in the SEC. So props to you on that, man. But, I know a lot of offensive linemen, they may not emulate their game after anybody. They may, it's difficult when you're an offensive lineman because, they don't stand out as much. Like you said, you're not seeing the stats and all that, but are there any specific offensive linemen either at the college or professional level that you kind of watch, more than others?
So I try to model my game off of a lot of people, try and take as many, minds of offensive line and hear different things and see different players play on film and take all of the good parts and try and incorporate that into my game. Again, like I said, I want to be able to move like these tackles do at the college level and the NFL level, and be able to show that and move that way, whether I'm pulling, whether that's in my kick step, getting to backers. That's something that I've always prided myself on, but also being physical. Like you see these interior offensive linemen, it's no joke. I mean, the punches are hard. Where they're getting, the trenches are hard. But, I mean, there's a lot of guys, college and NFL. I mean, Quentin Nelson is a huge guy that I've watched for a while and has been great, the interior offensive lineman. Guys like that who are just physical. Their technique is great. It's outstanding how they know the game. They know what's going to happen before it happens from film study. And I really try and pride myself on being that type of player that has all these great things incorporated into it from many different players who have been really good.
Oh, absolutely, man. There's definitely a lot of players out there, to that you would likely want to model your game after. There's a lot of elite offensive linemen, and, Quentin Nelson's one of those guys. So definitely an interesting answer too. I wanted to ask you because you play a little bit of every position along the offensive line. So, he's definitely a good one. I actually saw Jackson where you played baseball. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
I was a baseball player for a long time. My young career in baseball, I have a lot of accomplishments there. Back-to-back 14U state title championships.
There you go.
I was on a pretty good team with a lot of guys who, have become really good, either baseball, football, different players. One of those players is actually USC commit Cannon Smith, who's another big name out of Colorado. We played together for a long time. But a lot of those guys found opportunity. And yes, I have played a little bit of baseball.
Man,
sure.
That's definitely interesting, to hear that you played football and baseball. Do you have any plans to play that, your junior year or, potentially in college? I'm not sure. It looked like you really like baseball. So
Yeah, so baseball's been a huge part of my life. Honestly, the football has picked up a lot. I mean, and you're competing with guys who this is what they do. So I've always wanted to play everything as long as I can, because someday somebody's going to tell you you're not good enough. Whatever age, whatever, eventually you're not going to be good enough. So I try to play everything. I love basketball. I play basketball, but from a high school sports, everything's year round now. So it would be really hard for me to play baseball and play basketball in those sports. So I don't know if my junior year I'm going to play baseball or basketball, but obviously I'll continue to do those things for fun, especially basketball. You play pickup basketball with friends and stuff. That's always fun. But for how big the football thing's gotten, I kind of have to focus more on that. And like you talked about, going on visits and stuff, I mean, all that's right in the middle of baseball. Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard. But, yeah, I've played them all, but right now it's kind of narrowed down to football. That's where that's the game I love and I've fallen in love with.
No, 100%, man. And you're totally right. The high school game has definitely gotten to a point where you don't see a lot of guys playing, multiple sports.
No, sir.
Because a lot of them enroll early too. So your primary focus, which you have as well now, is football, which is a good thing. I think it's good to be able to focus on something year round. And if you're playing baseball, like you say, you might miss out on a school you want to visit or something because you got a game or something. So
exactly.
That's definitely I feel like that's definitely the right approach, especially with the way that the game is changing and constantly evolving. But last question I have for you. So, obviously your recruitment's picked up tremendously in these past few months. What would be your message to a kid that is maybe entering his junior season like you are, that feels like they have the talent and potential to play at the Division I level, that hasn't gotten any looks, maybe coming from a smaller school or somebody that doesn't necessarily have help? What would your recommendation be to them?
So one of the great things is I actually have two younger brothers. One is going into their freshman year and one is going into 7th grade. I'm the oldest kid in my family. And the cool thing is I'm going to be able to spread this knowledge to them specifically as a family, but also I want to give back to as many people as I can. I've been working at the kids camps at Creek. I've been doing some stuff in the community because I want to help as many people as I can. Some of the biggest things for me that were a change is you want to keep your circle small, but you want to have guys that trust you and that want to push you hard. There will be some people that they want to see you succeed, but that's not what they really want. They really want to be your friend. They really want to, if you're going to slack off, they're okay with that because they want to be your friend. One of the guys who's been the best example of that is, I mentioned earlier, Coach McChesney at 6-0. He is an amazing coach. He has helped me through this second semester of last year get ready for all these camps. And it's hard. It's hard training. I mean, it's hard, but he's not afraid to tell you the truth. And if you're not working hard, he's going to say, you're losing out. You're losing. I mean, there's a guy, all over the country. You're competing all over the country. And these days, all over the world for these spots. And if you're not going to work hard, if you're going to come and slack off, that's not acceptable. And he's going to tell you that to your face. So I would say find the people who want the best for you, not just want to be your friend, and just, surround yourself with people who want the same goals as you. Also, the use of social media has been huge. That is something that I've never done from a young age. My parents kept me away from social media, but as the football stuff has been going on, it is a huge part. The Twitter, Instagram, this is what I say is Instagram's for your friends to kind of show off what's been going on, but Twitter is a huge use to contact coaches, that's what I've been doing through all these camps and stuff, is reaching out over Twitter to these coaches, getting invites over Twitter. And it's a huge role, and you need to be doing it if you're not. So I would say those are the two things: is surround yourself with people who want to see you succeed, but are going to be straight up and tell you, you need to compete, you need to be better, and work you hard. And then also just the use of social media and getting your name out there these days is probably the most important thing you can do for your recruitment and self-promotion.
Yeah, man, totally. Those two things that you mentioned right there, having a presence on social media, being active, responding to coaches, reaching out to coaches, as well as surrounding yourself with the right people. I think that's a huge element that, kids and recruits, kids that are coming up, aspiring to be Division I athletes, that they could take that from you. I feel like that's a great answer. And another thing you said is you're trained by McChesney. And, if I'm not mistaken, he played at Colorado. Is that correct?
Yes, he played at CU and then spent some years in the NFL. So he's had a great career.
Yeah. And I also, I give you props on that because, like you say, he's going to be straight up. It's difficult, but like at the end of the day, he wants to see you succeed. And that deep down. And, so I feel like a lot of kids, that's a thing that they, could possibly explore, even having a trainer because, obviously, McChesney has connections. So, oftentimes it's about connections, but sometimes it doesn't matter. If you're good enough, you put in the work and you go to camps and, you show it on film, these coaches will come after you, and like you say, that's great advice to give, high school recruits. And it's definitely paid dividends for you and your recruitment, over these past few months, as you can tell, but appreciate you joining. And, we have one question from Dontario. So he says, "Hey, Jackson, what's one goal that you want to accomplish before the year's over?"
One goal for me before the year is over, I would say the biggest thing is probably film. For me, I want to make sure that that's one of the biggest steps I think I can take from my sophomore to my junior year and throughout this year is game planning. But for me personally, because I've heard from the coaches that I've talked to a little bit about film and study and how they do it at a college level and try it and do that at my level, at a high school level, and be watching the guy say, okay, I'm going to go against number 88 and 82 this week. And, 88 likes club rip. That's his go-to move pass pro. Or this guy likes to spin off the edge and see, okay, it's a pass situation. What does this guy want to do? If his left foot is back, does that mean he's going left? Or does he like to switch it up? Does he like the 4-point, 3-point stance? There's a lot that you can see in the film that will make you a better player and be more prepared at game day. And I think that's one of the best things and one of the most things I can work on going into this year is knowing and before the game what I'm going to see in the game and not just being a reactive player and being prepared. That, and then obviously you always want to be stronger as an offensive lineman. I'm going to be in the weight room. I'm going to be working, but you always want to just be getting stronger because the weight room doesn't lie. That's something that separates people is you can't cheat the weight room. You either put in the work over a long period of time or you don't, and that's something that's going to show up. So I would say those are the two things that I'm going to take steps from my sophomore to my junior year and be better at.
I'm glad that you said both of those because I do feel like there are oftentimes kids that take for granted, the element of watching film and huddle and stuff. And, you even noted, does this guy like to get in a 4-point stance, a 3-point stance, which leg's back, what's he doing? Does he like club rip, spin and stuff like that? So I definitely feel like, that's an interesting answer. I think it's a great answer, and that's definitely something that you're going to, you're already going to have to do it at the college level, and you understand that. So, having, being able to do it earlier than when you get on a college campus will really be an advantage for you. Also, like you said, the weight room, I'm sure that you're probably squatting the moon and deadlifting the moon.
Just a little bit.
what are your PRs, in the weight room?
I mean, so bench, I'm getting to around 340, 350. I was cleaning close to 300 and squatting. I'm getting close to 500. So I'm working, all those lifts and just continuing to do that and working hard.
No, 100%, man. And that's something that you got to do. And those aren't numbers to, shy away from. Those are some pretty strong numbers right there. You just noted, but definitely appreciate you taking the time to get on here. You know, excited to follow your recruitment. You know, get to know you. If you're on here, you know, be sure to follow. You know, subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on all the platforms. Like, you know, this video. You know, be sure to show Jackson some love. You know, what are your social media handles so people can like kind of follow you and you know follow your recruitment as well as your journey throughout high school there at Cherry Creek High School?
Yes, sir. So Twitter and Instagram is Jackson Roper _CO. So Jackson Roper _CO are those. And yeah, keep up with the recruitment. It's been crazy, and I'm excited to continue the process. It's a fun process.
Yeah, man, you definitely said it right. You know, it's definitely a fun process, and you know, glad to see that Alabama offered you, and you know, Alabama fans are very passionate, and you know, I can see that you're very passionate about the game of football. So, you know, in a bias or you know, in a Alabama fans perspective, I'll say this: I would love for you to be in Tuscaloosa. You know, obviously, but you know, wish you the best of luck. You know, seemed like a great kid, you know, a hard worker and an even better football player. So, you know, I appreciate you taking the time. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Like I said, be sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all platforms. So I'll put that right there. And, you know, appreciate you guys hopping on. Until next time, roll tide.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jackson. There we go, man.